Hey everyone, welcome back. Before we get into today's episode, it is going to be a Mother's Day episode, and I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge the fact that this day may be very hard for some of you. I know that we've talked about people struggling with infertility, and so many of you have reached out. I know I've read articles from women who hated this day for years trying to get pregnant. And I just want to acknowledge each and every one of you. Whether your baby's with you or in heaven, you are a mama. And for those of you that have kids, and when you're yelling at your kids and you feel like a horrible mom, you are still the best mom for your children. Your children chose to be born into your family for a reason. And for all of you who every single month you're just let down because you're waiting to take that pregnancy test and it's not time, we are here to cry with you. Our community is absolutely amazing, and we are here to love on you, and we are here to celebrate with you. And I just want to let you know that all of you are so valuable. Each and every single one of you listening to this podcast, you are amazing. You are so valuable and have so much worth. You are amazing women, and you are a miraculous mama. All right, everyone, welcome to Miraculous Mamas. I have my husband Vito here.
Hello.
And I have my mom on the phone with us.
Hello.
And I have my mother-in-law, Francie, here with us.
Hello.
This is our special Mother's Day episode, so we thought that we'd bring our moms on with us. But it is Pregnancy Awareness Month, so I'm still sharing strange pregnancy facts, a cultural fact, and an animal kingdom fact. So one strange pregnancy fact, I guess it's not strange, but so when moms eat their food when they're pregnant, your babies can actually taste the food that their mothers are eating in the womb.
No, they can't.
No.
Babies can taste the food their mothers eat in the womb.
What month?
Seriously?
Yeah, it said strong flavors like garlic can pass through the amniotic fluid in the womb, and a study showed that babies whose mothers drank a lot of carrot juice displayed a preference for carrot juice themselves.
Huh.
Now, what baby answered that question?
I can see garlic.
I'm thinking it's the baby that was born orange.
Yeah, exactly.
Oompa Loompa babies. Let's see.
What else you got?
I got a cultural fact. I have two, actually, I'm going to share. Pregnancy in Turkey. So women in Turkey are encouraged not to look at bears, monkeys, and camels while pregnant. But it doesn't tell me why, so I'm not sure. So I decided I would share another one, which is, let's see. To prepare for birth in the Jamaican culture, some believe that an open Bible needs to be present in the room where the mother is giving birth.
Wait. To prepare for birth. Oh, okay. I don't know if they were saying to prepare to conceive or not.
Oh.
If an open Bible needed to be in the room.
And then Vito has an animal fact he was going to share.
Oh, the Virginian opossum is only pregnant for 12 days.
It's the shortest gestation period.
Oh,
Look at that.
wow.
If only, am I right, ladies?
Wow.
Can I get an amen?
You couldn't get used to the idea in 12 days.
Right, that's true.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear an Italian wives' tale?
Yeah.
So if you're when you're pregnant and you have a craving, and let's say you have a craving for a fish, for to eat fish, and you touch your body, that spot where you've touched your body, you'll be born with a birthmark looking like a fish.
Oh.
For any...
Yeah, or
Oh,
strawberries,
geez, yeah.
or yeah. So you know how the kids were born with the strawberry mark. They would say, "Oh, that's because she was craving strawberries."
Italians are crazy.
So when I'd say, to my mom, "Oh, I have a craving for this," don't touch your body.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Mom, was there any that you knew of growing up?
Nope. Not that I can think of. Any superstitions like that? No, I don't remember
I think it's
any.
just an Italian and Greek thing.
Oh.
Europeans. They need something.
My family was Scandinavian. They're European, but I don't know. I can't think of anything that my mom ever told me. Or that my sisters ever said.
Your
I don't
guys'
know.
babies just came out as Vikings.
That's true. This is true.
So we thought that we would have our mothers on to share their birth stories of conceiving us. Well, maybe not conceiving. We know how that happened.
Let's not go through that.
Yeah,
But
let's not.
just kind of our birth stories of how we entered the world.
I've actually never heard my birth story. All you say is you were the longest and the hardest, and I gained so much weight with you, and you were the worst, and that's all I know about it.
Yeah.
But you never
All
said.
true.
You never said what it was like going to the hospital. Or I know that when Rosa was born, Dad drove 100 miles, and the floorboards in his car were rotting out, and I know that story.
Yeah.
But I think I'm adopted, so we'll see.
You're absolutely not adopted.
I'm excited to
I
hear
went
this.
through a lot of pain for you.
I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah. So which one of you want to start?
You
Go
go
ahead,
ahead, Connie.
I can't wait to hear Vito's birth story.
So, all right. Well, let's see. Where should I start? I'm thinking, where should I start? Okay.
Well,
so
you thought that you were possibly done having kids.
yes.
So when did you find out you were pregnant?
So I was.
When did you find out you were pregnant?
I had Rosa and Bruno, and Dad was working like 85 hours a week. And I'm like, oh no, I'm already outnumbered. I can't handle a third. So Dad did his smooth talking and talked me into having another one. And I'm like, okay. So we got pregnant. And this was a year after we started our business. So we got pregnant. The pregnancy was fairly good.
So you tried for me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We tried for each of you. We wanted, to get pregnant for each of you. And we were fortunate enough to get pregnant the same month that we tried. So we
Every
didn't
time?
Every time, yeah. So we were very fortunate. And actually, we went away for the weekend.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, you went to
And-
Lake Geneva, right?
Yeah, we went away for the weekend, came home preggers. And, so I think it was, with you, when I was early pregnant, I got really sick and I had like the flu.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really nervous about getting on antibiotics and all that. But I had a high fever and I was sick. And other than that, the pregnancy was good. I got really tired the first 3 months, wanted to sleep all the time, but I had Rosa and Bruno, so.
Yeah. Were you sick the whole pregnancy?
No,
Or
just
just
in the beginning.
Yeah.
So then I went through the pregnancy and I thought I was eating normally. With the other two, I gained 37 pounds. And with Vito, oh my gosh, I would go every time I went to the doctor, it was like 5 more pounds here, 7 pounds, 3 pounds. I'm like, what is going on? So by the end, I had gained 60 pounds and I was huge. I couldn't bend down to tie my shoes. I was huffing and puffing and chasing after Rosa and Bruno. I thought, I wouldn't gain as much.
And they were 4 and 5 at the time?
Yeah, 4 and 5. So, so anyway, towards, when in the last month, I went to the doctor, and when they start going, you go weekly. So the first week I was dilated to 1, and Rosa came 2 weeks early, and then Bruno, and she kind of got stuck coming out. So with Bruno, they didn't want me to go full term. They took me, they induced me 3 days earlier. So
because Rosa got stuck?
Yeah, because
So they
Rosa
wanted-
got
okay.
stuck. They didn't think I was going to be able to have a real big baby, and they didn't want me to go over, and take the chance of having a big baby. But Rosa was 7-13, and then Bruno was 8-10. And then, so anyway, back to you. That week, I was dilated to 1. And then the next week, I was dilated to 2. Then the next week, I was dilated to 3. And they wanted to do a stress test to make sure you were okay and everything was fine. And then the following week, I was dilated to 4, but no contractions, no anything. So the doctor's like, okay, do you want to have this baby? And I was like, yes, please, get him out of me. So the next day we went in. Dad and I went in. We knew we were going to have you, so we checked into the hospital. And they had to give me an enema for whatever reason, but that's terrible when you're like that, 9 months pregnant and going in and getting an enema. So,
what's an enema?
Oh man,
they make you poop.
they basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
they
I knew that. Okay,
When I had my 2 oldest kids,
I'm not
it was
that
just,
stupid. I know what that is.
they just did that. Didn't matter.
People
They don't
know
do
what
that
is.
anymore.
Don't look at me like that.
Yeah.
My 2 oldest kids, they you automatically got an enema when you went in to have a baby.
Oh, they didn't do that with Rosa or Bruno,
Yeah,
but they did
no,
it with Vito. Yeah.
But like Brandon's 46, so I mean, that was the early 70s. So.
Yeah.
I want to take a second to tell you guys about a tool that has helped me out so much. And if you run a business, you know how to get information to your clients and get basic things done. But if you're struggling with tedious administrative tasks, let HoneyBook do the work and make you look good. HoneyBook is an online business management tool that lets you control your client communication, bookings, contracts, and invoices, and it's all in one place. If you're a creative freelancer or a small business owner, HoneyBook helps you stay organized. I struggle with organization, which is why HoneyBook is so helpful for me. You can even use it to consolidate services that you use, like QuickBooks, Google Suite, and it consolidates everything all into one place. There's over 75,000 photographers, designers, event professionals, and other entrepreneurs that have saved hundreds to thousands of hours a year by using HoneyBook. And right now, HoneyBook is offering our listeners 50% off your first year with promo code BABES. Payment is flexible, and this promotion applies whether you pay monthly or annually. Go to honeybook.com and use the promo code BABES for 50% off your first year. Get paid faster and work smarter with honeybook.com, promo code BABES.
So then about an hour later, they started me with Pitocin. And Pitocin is, for me at least, my experience with Bruno and Vito, it is brutal. But with Bruno, when I
Rosa, you did nothing?
Rosa, my water bag broke and went into labor, and 7 hours later, I had her. So It was really easy. We did Lamaze, and Dad was a great coach, breathing me through it, and just like he was awesome. So with Bruno, we thought, okay, we got a couple hours, at least 7-8 hours. So with Bruno, they started Pitocin, and then I instantly was, what do they call it? The transition?
In transition, yeah.
In transition. So it was major pain. So I looked over to Dad and I'm like, I need some painkillers. And he's like, wow. He goes, you're really losing it. He's got his feet up watching the news. And I'm like, I need something. So within 5 minutes of giving me, I think with him, they gave me Nubane. It's a pain through my IV. And within 5 minutes, they checked me. I was dilated to 10 and had him. So within 2 hours of starting the Pitocin to delivering was 2 hours. So with you, when they gave me the Pitocin, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be quick. But like 8 hours later, in between that, they popped my water bag. And then 8 hours later, I finally got to the pushing stage. And it was, so between the Pitocin, the, labor, and at that time when I had children, my doctor said, epidural is the last thing you want to do. You don't want to have an epidural unless it's an emergency. So we went through the whole thing without any epidural, and
did they let you eat at all or no?
No. No. So every couple minutes, you're just, the contractions are coming. So you're doing this hour after hour after hour. And so then that doctor gave me an episiotomy. And
can I ask what that is?
Yes. An episiotomy is where they will actually cut at the bottom
Oh,
of
yeah,
your
you
perineum
said that, yeah.
to... it used to be something that was more regular and routine. Now, I rarely ever hear anyone talk about that.
Yeah, it was.
They just straight up cut you?
Yes.
Yeah. And Dad,
With, like,
I was looking at Dad's
medical
face. Well,
scissors.
yeah.
Right. Oof.
And Dad's like, the scissors were this big. And so he really gave me a really big episiotomy. It went down and towards the side, all the way down to my rectum.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh.
Post-delivery was the worst for you because the episiotomy, the healing of that was incredible. It was very difficult. But so then you were born, pushed a couple times, you were born, and Dad cut the cord, and you were 9'1", 9 pounds, 1 ounce. So
It's a good, healthy baby.
good, healthy baby, strong, blonde hair, really, really blonde, and then the hazel eyes, and Dad's dark with a olive skin, and he wanted to know if it was his son.
Well, wait, what did he say to you?
Dad says to me, I love him like my own, but is he mine? I'm like, yeah. He couldn't believe he had a child because the other two were dark hair, brown eyes. And so Vito was like me. He had the lighter hair, the light eyes. And he's like, how can that be? So, yeah.
I grew into my brownness.
Yeah. Then you got darker.
Yeah.
Like me. As I got older, I got darker.
Yeah.
So, but you still have the light eyes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What was it like having me afterwards? I was colicky, right?
Yeah, you were colicky for the first 5 months. Oh, first you were jaundice. So we brought you home from the hospital, but we had to bring you back to the doctor's office every day. And then they readmitted you because you were really jaundice. And so I had to go home every day and leave you at the hospital. So that
You
was...
left me at the hospital?
Yeah, I had to. They wouldn't let me stay.
Who?
Well, I brought you home originally, and then they made you come back, and then they wouldn't let me stay. So I would stay until like 9, 10 o'clock, and then...
He feels really abandoned
I
right
know,
now.
I know. But I sat...
What the heck?
Listen, I sat on a hard rocking chair for hours in a NICU.
NICU.
Thank you.
NICU. And so I sat on this hard rocking chair. They didn't have it padded. I don't know why. With that episiotomy healing. So believe me.
I'm just saying, like, what if your actual son is out there and you grabbed the wrong baby?
No. You're
Possible.
too much like me.
I guess.
So Dad would drop me off at 5 o'clock in the morning on his way to work. And then I would stay at the hospital with you.
That's
and
crazy.
that was for a little over a week. And then, so I was nursing at the time, and they wanted me to pump and dump. Well, at the time, they didn't have these nice pumping machines, or I didn't have one. So it was really difficult to keep the milk flowing. Mm-hmm. So then I nursed you for 3 weeks, and then you were really, really colicky. You had to be on all this special formula that was like, I don't know, $50 a can. And you still were just extremely colicky. You got to the point where you spit up blood, and I freaked out. So I rushed you to the doctor's office with Rosa and Bruno, the pediatric, and he said, you know what? He goes, we'll babysit Rosa and Bruno. You take them straight to the emergency room. So I took you to the hospital. They made you drink the, what's it called? They gave you an upper GI to make sure that your stomach was working correctly and everything. So you had to drink this stuff. And then after about 5 months, they didn't find anything, thank God. And then after about 5 months, you stopped. But now you're lactose intolerant, and, you have some other
I'm learning so many
issues.
new things about myself.
So, yeah. So that's your story. But you were a really great toddler. He was so easy going. He went with the flow. And you were my easiest toddler.
After the colic stage.
Yeah, after the colic
throwing
stage.
up blood and
Yeah.
leaving at the hospital.
Yeah.
I knew none of this.
I tried staying, but they wouldn't let me.
This is crazy.
So.
Yeah, but you've never asked either.
Well, you know how my family is. We don't really have sit-down conversations.
Yeah, you do.
No,
Every
it's
time
like-
I'm over, it's a sit-down conversation.
Yeah, but 10 people are talking at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
It's true.
everyone has a lot to say.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take a second to tell you guys about something new. I know that I've been sharing my health journey with you guys on Instagram. I've been trying to go to the gym, but I also know that when I eat better, I feel better. And sometimes it's hard to prepare healthy meals that also taste good. I get in a rut and I'll just remake the same things, but eating better doesn't have to be boring or bland. Sakara makes organic, ready-to-eat meals with nutritious and delicious plant-based ingredients that are designed to help you look and feel your best self. With Sakara's meal programs, breakfast, lunch, and dinner are delivered right to your door, ready to eat anywhere in the U.S. And their meals are specifically designed to enhance your energy, improve your digestion. You guys know I have digestive issues. I share TMI of that on here with you, and help with just feeling healthy. And the menu of chef-crafted dishes changes weekly, so you're not going to get bored. Along with your meals, you can also get supplements, teas, and support from a certified health coach to help you stay on track. And right now, Sakara is offering our listeners $60 off their first order when they go to sakara.com/mama. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/mama, MAMA, to get $60 off your first order. That's sakara.com/mama. I would love for you to talk about your postpartum really quick, though, because right after you had him, you were telling me how the nurse made you get up.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that's really crazy.
Yeah. So it was a really hard delivery, real painful. You know, I guess other people have had it longer, but with the episiotomy, with everything, I was just exhausted. So the nurse walks in and she says, okay, it's time. I mean, this is like 20 minutes later. She says, time to get up and take a shower. And I'm like, no, really, I'm not ready yet. I'm exhausted. She goes, oh, no. She goes, you got to take a shower. I said, no, really, come back in about an hour. And she's like, no, you have to get up and take a shower. And I'm like, okay. So I got up and I went into the shower. Thank God there was a chair there because I was so lightheaded because I, lost a lot of blood and I nearly passed out in the shower. So I sat down.
Was there a nurse there to help you, or?
She was outside, not in the shower with me, but she was in the room. But I sat down, I, took my shower, and then, but I was so upset. It's like, she's insisting. And at that time, I was 18 when I got married. So I had Rosa at 20, Bruno at 21, and Vito at 26. So I was kind of young, and I'm more of the, I don't know. I was like intimidated, I guess, by her. So I went into the shower and then, took a shower, but I was not in any condition.
That's crazy.
To shower, yeah. But
what was your doctor like? Was he pushy at all, or how was your hospital experience?
The hospital experience was good. Outside of that, the hospital experience was really good.
Yeah.
They try to prepare you to go home, and then when you're a first-time mom, they're really on top of things. And then once you have your second and third,
they're like, you know what's going on.
Yeah,
you have an idea of how to do this.
You're good, yeah. So,
I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
That's
this
crazy.
way you could, when Liz gets pregnant, you'll be more prepared.
How was it bringing me home to Rosa and Bruno? Was it like bringing a baby home to a dog where they had to get used to me? And
no, they came.
You brought my blanket home first, and you're like, smell this.
You're bad. Dad brought them, so then Dad went home, and then he went to pick up Rosa and Bruno, and then they just loved you. They wanted to hold you all the time, and they just so this is one thing, Liz, that Vito's upset with me. So I took pictures when Vito was in the hospital. We took pictures of him and I, me, you, and Dad, you, Rosa and Bruno, when they came and they were all holding you and you had, all your little stuffed animals and balloons and everything. We have no idea what happened to these pictures.
The first 2 years of my life are undocumented.
That's what happens when you're the youngest. Nobody cares anymore.
No.
So now he's like, where's my baby pictures? I'm like, I cannot find them. So I don't remember. At that time, you dropped the film off and it got developed. And then you went back to pick it up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I lost the film, if I dropped it off and never went to pick it up, or I have no clue. But now he thinks he's adopted because I have no...
The only pictures we have are of Bruno pushing me down the slide with head first.
Right, not in a friendly way.
Right.
They're probably still waiting at the place that you dropped off the film to be picked up.
You'll find them, Francie.
I wish I could find them. What's that?
They'll show up someday. Someday they'll just appear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, I love hearing different birth stories, and it's nice that you were a good kid. We were both good kids, so I'm hoping we have good kids.
Well, I hope our baby doesn't spit up blood for no reason.
But the colicky thing...
Yeah, he would cry.
Is that genetic?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. But he would cry.
What was your diet like when you were breastfeeding me?
Well, I didn't know I was
spaghetti, lasagna.
Well...
Yeah. Well, now that's also... a lot of times when babies are colicky, doctors will have them do an elimination diet. Cut dairy out of your diet, see how they do. Cut this, because it could be something that they do have a sensitivity to that they're getting through their breast milk. So there's some things that have come a long ways.
Yeah.
Right, sure. But then I stopped breastfeeding after a couple weeks. I didn't breastfeed him very long. And then even with the different milks, he was still spitting everything up. So, and that was up for the first 5 months. And it was crazy. At a certain time, then he would just cry uncontrollably. So
I would have returned me.
But then, like I said, you were such a good toddler. He'd be in the car and the other kids would be crying or screaming or fighting, and Vito would be just sitting there. I'd forget that he was in the car.
Or you'd forget me at the park.
All right, I did do that one time. But I realized it after about 5 minutes. Yeah. Wait, where's Vito?
How long did the colicky go on for?
5 months.
For 5 months, okay.
Yeah.
And then after that, he was fine.
Then he was fine, yeah.
All right, babe. We just have to get through 5 months.
Yeah, right. 5 months. We haven't even been married 5 months.
That's true. Yeah. Do you feel like you learned a lot?
I did. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. So when you say you're adopted, I want to smack you upside the head because
she's like,
I went through. You have no clue.
Find these pictures and then we'll see.
I'm sure somebody else has pictures. Like Theofina probably has a picture of you that she... Nobody has pictures of you as a baby?
It's a big conspiracy.
All right, Mom, you ready to tell my story?
Oh, I guess so. Yeah. Where do you want me to start?
I would like for you to start actually when Dad was in the hospital and you were pregnant with me.
Oh, jeepers. I was not very pregnant. Well, I was about 3 months along, I guess.
Oh, I thought you were further than that.
No, because he was in the hospital in June and you were born in January.
Oh, okay. Well, so before me, you had a miscarriage. Mm-hmm. And before that, you had Corinne, which she was in the NICU for a long time.
Yes.
So then you get pregnant with me, and then Dad is in intensive care.
Well, actually, after when I got pregnant, Corinne was 2, I guess, a little over 2. And I got pregnant, and I actually lost that baby at about 11, 12 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so that was a really, really super hard miscarriage because I've had 3. So that, and the others were very early, but that one was really, really hard. And I don't know if this is too much information or not.
Never on here.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I had Corinne and I had been out to my sister's in Ohio. She had Austin, and so Corinne and I had flown out there to be with her because her kids were only 12 months apart. And so on the way back, I knew that something was wrong, and Grandpa Sandoz picked us up at the airport, and we went directly to the hospital in, I don't know. I don't even remember if it was Rapid City or Cheyenne or Laramie. I have no idea. I think we flew into Rapid City and we went straight to the hospital. And anyway, and so then they did a DNC, and then a week later, it was Easter, and I was getting ready for to go to church and so forth, and I just started hemorrhaging really, really bad. And so we ended up going up, calling the doctor. We live in a very small town in Wyoming. Went up to the clinic, and she gave me a shot to stop bleeding, but also examined me, and she said, okay, this is going to hurt, but just if you bear with me, it'll really, really help stop the bleeding. And she of course was examining me vaginally, and she pulled off what would be not even microscopic hairs of tissue that had been left from the baby that I'd lost. And I can remember, I think about that being 33 years ago, and I think that pain is so real because I could not believe how microscopic it was and how painful it was. It was just, it just was so incredible. So anyway, she got the bleeding under control, and then we ended up having to go over to Laramie, Wyoming, and they had to do another procedure, to make sure that everything was cleared out and so forth. And so anyway, I got pregnant just probably within a month after that with you. I don't even know that I had a period cycle, hardly. And so that's why you're my rainbow baby, sweetheart.
Yeah. I didn't know it was that soon after.
Yeah.
And you weren't trying, though, were you?
No. Actually, I was kind of scared because Corinne was so traumatic.
Yeah.
That it was kind of scary. And I know there's been gals on your Facebook page that have talked about, like, getting pregnant quickly and being kind of, like, embarrassed or whatever. And that's kind of how I felt after I got pregnant with you. It was kind of like, oh, boy, because it's kind of weird because you think, oh, well, people know what you're doing, but... Well, you're married. They should know what you're doing. But, it was
hopefully you're doing that.
Yeah, right. And so, it was just, it was just, it was really, really soon. But it was also such a, such a joyful thing, really excited when we found out that we were expecting you, We didn't know if it was a boy or girl. We never found out.
But were you scared that you were going to lose me?
Yes, I would think I was scared I was going to lose you. I was very, it was sometimes I think scary. They would always tell me everything was okay. And I was considered an older mom because I was almost 35. And then also just because of Corinne's birth being so traumatic and everything there, then I was considered high risk. And so it just, they just monitored me a lot, I guess I would say, and I was a little concerned about things, not going well with you. And, they wouldn't let me go overdo with you because of the issues with Corinne. So,
could you just touch on just really briefly what happened with Corinne? Yeah.
Well, babies, when they're first born, they have a stool called meconium. And it's a very black, tarry stool, and all babies have that. A lot of babies have that inside the womb. Will have a stool before they're born, but it floats around in the amniotic fluid, and sometimes they'll swallow it. It'll be in their stomach. But Corinne had inhaled it into her lungs. And she was born under a lot of stress. The cord was wrapped around her neck twice. I'd been under a lot of stress. I was 2 days overdue, and my dad died from a massive heart attack. And so I know your dad says that when he told me, he said I felt like he was going to lose me too, because I was just, my dad and I were very close. It was just very, very stressful. And so that could have added to some of the stress. I have no idea. But Corinne was actually born 17 days late. And then she was born with all of the issues because of the meconium being in her. I'd gone in for an exam, and they put an internal monitor on me, which I'd never had or anything, and they could tell that she was under stress and so forth. And they had, I believe, broke my water. I'd been in labor for about 4 hours, and they said they were going to take her cesarean because her heart rate was so low. And I can remember to this day being on the gurney and them running me down the hallway. I can remember, just see the lights going by, and out of the corners of my eyes in the hallway. And when we got into the room, the anesthesiologist was there, and I was having another contraction. I felt like I needed to push. And the doctor said, okay, go ahead and push this time, and if not, we're going in, And Corinne was born with that contraction. And so
wow.
She was whisked away. We had no idea if we had a boy or a girl. And I asked your dad, is it a boy? He goes, I don't know. And then finally someone told him it was a girl. And but she was taken away by air ambulance back then to the University of Minnesota. She was born in South Dakota. And she was on 100% oxygen for a few days and not expected to live, actually. So she is our miracle.
And then how long was she in the NICU? I don't remember.
Wait, she was born in South Dakota.
And they had
immediately flew just her.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I can remember. It reminded me a little bit one of the birth stories on your Patreon, Liz. I don't remember which one. But they brought Corinne in and to my room, and they raised her bed up as far as they could, because I couldn't go with her in the airplane. Back then it was an airplane, because that was 37 and a half years ago. And
no, Mom, Corinne's 35.
Sorry, sweetheart. 35 and a half years ago.
Okay.
And so, I couldn't go with her right then. And so they brought her in, and they put her bed up as close as they could to mine, so I didn't have to do a lot of, I guess, bending or whatever. And they just told me, just that they were taking her now and that I could kiss her goodbye. They just said, there's no guarantee that you'll see her alive when you see her in Minneapolis, that she probably, they didn't expect her to live. So I can remember kissing her goodbye, and they took her away. And I didn't see her till the next day when we finally got to Minneapolis. So.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was
I don't
tough.
want to have kids.
Vito's terrified now.
I was listening to Francie, though, talking about sitting on that hard rocking chair. Yes. Miles, your daddy always says, he said he never ever knew the love and the power and the strength of a mother until then, because she was born December 1st. And so December 2nd, we get to Minnesota, and there's storm and snow and snowbanks and everything, and we didn't know that we could park at a certain place, and we parked a few blocks away, and here I am just having had a baby, and I'm trudging through the snow as fast as I can to get into that hospital up to the NICU, and I sat on one of those round hard stools day after day after day after day, with her.
And they released you that next day, because usually, especially back then, you stayed 3-4 days.
Yeah. I was gone the next day to go to Minneapolis. So.
And then how long was she in the NICU?
Well, she was there because they ended up transferring her. Well, okay. She was there for about 7 weeks right there. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to take her home. She was doing really, really well. They did a lot of testing, of course, and throughout the time, they did a lot of brain scans because of the lack of oxygen, and none of them, they would always come back not normal, and they prepared us for her to have brain damage and to develop cerebral palsy by the time she was a year old, and to just always physically and mentally be behind because of the situation. But I always said we serve a great God, and he intervened. And she, when we took her in for her 1-year checkup, they evaluated her overall at about a 16th month level and said we didn't need to bring her back. So She walked at 8.5 months and just did everything. It was kind of like, I'm going to show you is what she did. So, but in Minnesota, honey, she she finally, we were transferring back to South Dakota, and she was on 9 different medications. Every 3 hours, I had to set the alarm to either feed her or give her a medication. And so they said I could learn how to do that. I had to learn how to gavage feed her, so I had to change the tube from her stomach or her nose to her stomach twice a day to put in the meds and to give her my breast milk. And we took her back to Minnesota or to South Dakota, and there then we learned the CPR and some other things that we could do so that we could take her home, because they said that it would take her several months to get off the medicine and she would be in the hospital that long. So if I wanted to take her home, we had to learn, to do all of that. So that's what we did, and we took her home. So, yeah.
Wow.
So then being pregnant with me, after having, that was your traumatic birth experience with Corinne, and then having a miscarriage at 12 weeks, then getting pregnant with me, I feel like I would just be a mess.
Yeah, and maybe I was more of a mess than I know. I don't know. You might have to ask your dad about that. But I just remember when they wouldn't let me go over with you. And so they put me in the night before and induced me in the morning. And I have very fast labors. And so with all 4 kids, I've only had 17 hours total labor. I had 3 with you, and they just broke my water. And I can remember your dad thought I was going to break his thumb because I kept saying, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And he said, you don't have a choice now. You don't have a choice. And because I was scared.
Yeah.
I was really scared, actually. And so, but anyway, then I have one of those labors where I go kind of slow till about 5 centimeters. And then I say, and the doctor had just been in to check me. And I told the nurse, I said, I have to push. And she goes, oh, no, he was just here. You're at a 5. I'm going, no, I need to push. She said, well, let me look, So she looks, she goes, oh, you're at a 10. We got to go. And I'm going, I know, I need to push because I just go really fast. And I only push like 2-3 times and we're done.
Did they give you Pitocin, or did they induce you just by breaking your water?
Break my water.
Okay.
I had Pitocin with Nikki, and that was horrible.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. So, and I have back labor.
Ooh.
So you feel like someone is sawing you in 2. I'm sorry, but that's just, literally, it's just not fun. That's why nowadays when you can get up and walk around and you're on the ball and you're in water and you can do all that stuff, I cannot imagine how helpful that has to be.
Yeah, it helps with back labor a lot.
Back then, we were in bed, pretty much.
Yeah.
You just stayed in bed, and that would just be terrible. It was. But anyway.
You're putting all that pressure on your back where you're laboring from.
Yeah, yeah. So the other, I think, amazing thing with your birth, too, is that because Corinne was so traumatic, her older brother and sister were not there. They didn't get to see her till she was 3 weeks old in Minnesota. And so your sister, Nikki, was she 13 when you were born, honey?
Yeah, she was 13.
Okay, so she really wanted to be at the hospital with us, and so she was. And she was in the room, and she'd kind of be in and out. And when I went from 5 to 10, boom, and the doctor came in, and he told her, stand back there. So she was in the corner and watched the whole birth at 13 years old. And your dad and I were like, oh, boy, either this is going to scar her for life, or we didn't know. We were just like, oh, dear, but there was nothing we could do about it at the time, And but it was the people there, when they understood the situation with Corinne and then they were so amazing. And you imagine, like, this is 1987. They let Nikki stay at the hospital. They said, oh, we've got a room she can stay in. And they gave her an extra bed. She stayed there. When you were born, she held you first. Well, no, I think I held you first, and she held you. And the nurses took her to wherever they would go with you to measure you and weigh you and put the drops in your eyes and all of that kind of stuff. It was just kind of an instant bond with you and Nikki right there. It was something really, really special for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. She's like my sister mom.
Yeah.
How much did I weigh?
You weighed 7'4".
And how much of an amazing baby was I?
You were actually a really amazing baby. I never had any kids that had colic, though, so I don't know.
She's lucky.
So, Vito, if you have a baby with colic, it's all your fault.
Payback.
All right, I'll be at work.
Oh, man. Come on.
Not in the middle of the night, you won't be.
Exactly,
Might
when the
pick up
baby's
a third
keeping you up. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Great
Anyway.
memories.
Do you have Liz's baby pictures?
Yes, I have some.
Oh.
I couldn't point them to you right now. Yes.
That's
But you
cute.
see, and then they always give me, grief because they think there's so many of Corinne. Well, we thought she was
is.
dying.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of pictures of Corinne, but a lot of them
There's
are
like
really.
complete photo albums of Corinne's life. And then there's like, yeah, Liz's picture's somewhere. The rest of the kids' photos are somewhere. They're like, here's Corinne's first hair that was on her head. We preserved it. Here's this.
Corinne's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. And then, yeah, how was Corinne when you brought me home? How were my siblings?
Oh, they were fine. Yeah, no, they were. The only thing your brother said, Brandon, he was just so disappointed he didn't get a brother.
No.
He was like, another girl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was outnumbered.
That boy would have been terrorized.
If what?
If you were a boy, Brandon would have terrorized him.
Oh, Brandon terrorized me.
Right.
He didn't even matter. He treated me like a little brother.
Yeah.
He didn't terrorize me.
Had to have some fun, for sure.
It wasn't fun.
No, but he thought he was having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a video, we were watching home videos a while ago, and there's a video of my brother pushing me. We're on this small slide that we had in our backyard, and my mom is sitting on the patio, and we're in the backyard, and she's videotaping us. And I was trying to go down the slide, and my mom's like, Bruno, help him go down the slide. And I wasn't on my butt or anything. He just shoved me, and I went head over heels, like, down the slide. And my mom's like, oh, are you okay, Vito? So that was my life.
Yep.
Yeah, mine's not that
I
different.
turned out all right, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to say, that's,
It
helped
toughened
you
me
to
up.
become the strong
Yeah.
man that you are today.
I have to imagine by the third kid, you're like, it's okay if they fall. They're going to be all right.
Well, it's so true. When you have your first one, you wash your hands or don't touch it. That fell on the floor. Throw it away. And then, by Vito's, he's eating dirt. And I'm like, oh, that's good protein. That's good for you.
Yeah. Miles' sister always says when she had her first one and he'd drop his pacifier on the floor, she'd pick it up and run it under water and boil it. And then the second one came along and she'd run it underwater. And third one came along, she said, I just kind of licked it off. And she said, the last one, I just kind of shoved it over with my toe.
Here you go. Still right there. Yeah. So what parenting advice do you guys have for us?
Oh, man.
If and when we
what
can
about
become parents.
motherly advice? Because it's Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Not necessarily parenting advice, but motherly advice.
Some mother's wisdom.
Well, I don't know. I think Francie and I probably think a lot alike in some ways, I think, in that I don't think you can ever, ever, ever love your child so much. I don't think you can spoil a tiny little baby. Yes, they can want to be held, but there's a need there if they want to be held, You can definitely spoil kids, but, that's a whole different topic. But I don't think you can ever love on and rock and cuddle and love on your baby or your child enough. I don't think you can ever overdo it.
I agree. When they're, little babies, I agree.
Well, you grew up with another Italian idiom, or whatever they call them, but the old Italians would say that if you hold your baby too long, what is it?
You would spoil it. You want to be held all the time. So
that's not just Italian. That's just in general. I think
I thought there was something else. So they become weak or whatever. Because
no, they just didn't think that it was a good idea to hold the baby because then they'd want to be held all the time.
Oh, okay.
So there was a lot. If I'd have to think back of all the little things, my grandparents would say or do.
Yeah, you got to write those down.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, you know, I'm the second to the youngest of 9 children. So my mom was 40 when she had me. And I can remember asking my mom things like, you know, parental advice or like about babies or this and that. But my mom, you know, she was a full-blood Swede, very laid back, very easygoing. I'd ask her about potty training, and she'd be like, oh, you know, just whenever they're ready, you know, and just, you know, everything was just, you know, I think calm and natural and just kind of there, just kind of happened, you know. And but you also weren't living in the busy world of people running all over like crazy either. So.
Yeah. I would have to say you have to adjust your parenting per child.
Absolutely.
Because one parenting technique doesn't work for all your children. So you got to go according to their personality and how they receive discipline, how they receive love. And so it's,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm scared that. What?
I would say it's really nice to have that, like that book of rules, you think, but it just doesn't even apply because, you know, even with Corinne's kids, being around them so much, Elizabeth, you know, what worked for Chris just didn't work for Grace or whatever. You know, or even look at my kids, you know, Brandon was more, my oldest, I mean, you know, when he was 2, I'd tell him, I said, he'd be out on his trike and I'd be, you come back here. He'd turn around and look at me and pedal as fast as he could in the other direction, you know, and he was more of a, you know, he needed that spanking, you know, that pop on the butt, where Nikki and you too were just pretty much could talk to you, you know, and that very, you know, that's all you really needed to do. You had such a tender heart, you know, so kids are just so different, you know, too, in every way. There's no way you can treat each one the same that way.
Right.
I think one thing I'm nervous about is that I'm not going to have cuddly babies for children because, like, I was around a lot when Corinne had her kids, and I think, like, Nora, her last one, her 4th, was really the only cuddly kid.
Well, and she's not now.
Yeah, see, I need love. And, like, Brooke's daughter, so my great-niece Elizabeth, oh, she gives the best hugs, and she's such a cuddler. And I know people whose babies just, I had a friend who, I think her oldest is 4 now. And when she was a baby, she wasn't cuddly. When she was walking around or whatever, she just was very independent. She didn't like being touched. She didn't want her mom to like coddle her at all. Yeah. And for me, it's like, no, you will love me.
It's funny. You worry about not being cuddled, and I'm just like thinking about worst case
Vito's just in shock over here.
Liz is like, well, I hope our baby cuddles.
You could cuddle
how about a healthy baby?
You could cuddle them when they're sleeping too. I used to just kiss on them and just squeeze them while they were sleeping. So
yeah, you're sitting there thinking I should lay them down, but no, I'm going to milk in every minute of this.
Right, and they grow up so fast. Like when I see my kids, I'm like, how did they're men with facial hair. And, my daughter's got 3 kids of her own. It's like, how did that happen? It feels like yesterday.
Oh, Francie,
Right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I've got 3 great-grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
How can I have a 25-year-old grandson? How did that happen? I have no idea. Well, I do, but, it's crazy. It's just so fast.
Right. So enjoy it and try to live in the moment and don't worry about this house or, the mess, and just enjoy the moment.
One of my biggest worries is not being able to keep up. I don't know. You just hear so many stories with motherhood, and I have zero idea what it's going to be like for me. But not being able to, keep the house clean and be able to cook food and take care of my children. Yeah. So, and I feel like Vito's going to have a nervous breakdown if the house is a disaster.
Oh, he'll be fine. But you know what? There's going to be.
He just rolled his eyes, Mom.
I know, I saw that. There's going to be days when he's going to come home and you're going to have it all together and the house is going to be clean and the kids are, dinner's on, everything's great. And another day he's going to come home and you're on the couch with like 2 kids laying on you and there's not a thing picked up and dinner's not ready.
Right.
That's just life.
My fear, I'm okay with that. My fear is like Liz is going to leave the stove on. And be sleeping on the couch with kids like running around with toys in their mouth. I'm be like, okay, there's a fire hazard over there and over there.
No.
No.
Not
You know
at all.
what? The other thing I was going to say is that, Elizabeth, more than once your dad talks about missing you girls as little toddlers. You know, because all of our kids crawled in bed with us. And we just loved it. You know, at the time, you're kind of like, I wish I could get a good night's sleep or whatever. But there have been so many times that we've talked about that, and your dad will say, man, I miss when they were little, and they'd come and crawl in bed with us, you know. And so I know that's really hard for a lot of mamas out there, you know, now. And sometimes you're married to someone who does not like that, you know. And that's just something you have to, you know, deal with or work through or talk about. But, you know, it's so, you know, so precious. And it goes so fast. You know,
I crawled in bed with you guys forever, though.
Oh, yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
I was like 8.
Vito did that a couple times as, in your 20s? That's when he usually wanted to talk to me. And, you know, I was sleeping and he's like, Mom, can we talk? Yeah. Okay. And then I'd just move over and he'd lay down and talk. And so... And I loved it then, and I loved it when he was 2.
Yeah.
So
Liz would still sit on my lap and rub my chin, because that's what she did when she nursed. She'd rub my chin like this. And so even now, I bet if she sat on my lap, she would start doing this.
Yeah, I rub Vito's chin.
It's so weird.
No, it's not. It's comforting.
yeah.
He just rubs my butt. So. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on and for sharing these stories with us. Don't you have such different respect for your mom?
Yeah. And thank you for being awesome moms.
Oh. You're welcome.
You're pretty awesome kids.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Right.
But yeah.
Now we're just going to sit back and wait for you to make us grandmas again.
Right.
Liz is having a hard period again. I'm like, we should just put a baby in you.
I just have the worst period sometimes, and I look forward to hopefully, if we can, have kids, not have periods for a while.
Yeah. And sometimes I was telling her that sometimes after you have a child, your whole period changes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not as heavy, it's not as long, it's not as intense.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Totally, I totally get it.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, get out of here. The only thing Vito gets is PMS, because I firmly believe that men do that as well.
Yeah, we're totally cycled up.
Yes, we're synced up for sure. But yeah, so happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day.
And thank you so much for coming on. And
since I won't be there for Mother's Day, you have to hug Francie for me then.
I will.
Yeah. I send you hugs via internet.
Yeah, so if you guys aren't part of the Facebook group, it's Miraculous Mamas. There's the Instagram page. There's the Patreon, where we share stories from our community, and it's a way to support and give back. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week. I hope that everyone had a wonderful Mother's Day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.